Okay, good afternoon, students. This is a Camtasia video that's going to go over the steps in solving and evaluating equations. So this is what we've been doing for our homework for the last couple of days. And so if you have problems at home where you can't remember, you can look at this. First of all, a couple of ideas that I want to review with you before we get started is the idea of dealing with these negatives. Yes, that is a subtraction, which what you've got to remember about subtraction, it's really adding a negative number. So when it comes to algebra, sometimes I don't think of this as subtraction. I think of it as a -3, and this is a -1, especially when I'm getting ready to use the distributive property. Now, if you recall the distributive property, if I have a number that's written next to a parentheses, this number on the outside actually goes to each number in the parentheses, and I'm going to explicitly show that as we go through this. So let me take those back off and we'll go ahead and here and get started. So first of all, I'm not doing anything to the 4x, so the 4x is just going to come down. The -3 will times the 2x, so I'm explicitly showing this, and then I have the -3 timesing the -1, and then it equals everything to the right hand side. And we'll get to this in just a minute. So now let's simplify these two factors right here. So we'll start us a new line. 4x minus 6x plus 3, because we know if we have two factors and I have an odd number of negatives, the answer there is going to be negative. If I have two factors and I have an even number of negatives, the answer is going to be positive. So it goes back to the rules for your integer math. Let me see, what else do I have here? Okay, now we're ready to collect like terms, and let me just review the idea about like terms. Like terms are two separate terms that have exactly the same variable that has exactly the same exponent. So you can see that that's the case that we have there. When that happens, what that enables us to do is to add the two numbers in front. So if I have 4 subtract 6, or in other words 4 add a -6, what I get is a -2. So I'm going to put my -2x plus 3 equals 4x plus 9. So now when you get to this point where the parentheses is all removed, all the weird stuff has gone away with, you should be able to see a nice simple equation where maybe we have a variable term, a numbered term, a variable term, and a numbered term. And at this point, we have to decide where we want our numbers at and where we want our variables. And I just make it a standard practice for myself that I'm going to get my x's to the left hand side and then my numbers to the right. And so all the variables with x terms are going to be to the left, and all the numbers are going to be to the right, and then I'll collect them, and as I go through this, it'll all come out in the wash and we'll end up getting some type of a solution. So first of all, the idea of the opposites. For this 3, I want to get rid of the 3. Well, the idea is that what number do I add to 3 to get to 0? Well, I could take a -3. These are opposites on the number line. 3 added to a -3 will give me 0. The same way with 4. I have a +4. To get rid of the 4, I can subtract the 4x. And so those go to 0. Now the other idea that has to do with math is this idea of having a balance. I have made this one side 3 units smaller, therefore I have to do this side 3 units smaller. This side over here I've made 4x smaller. Over here I have to make it 4x smaller to keep my equality there. I cannot destroy that equality. So the idea is this, is whatever I do to this side, I have to do to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 4x here, and I'm going to subtract 3 here. So now when I those two right there are gone because they go to 0. So now I finally get negative 6x equals 6. So now do you see I have all my variables on one side, my numbers on the other. Now the next step is I have to reverse multiplication between the 6 and the x. And how I do that, the reverse operation for multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide each side by a negative 6. And as I do that, that number right there goes to 1. Can't see it because I'm off the map here. But that number goes to 1. So I end up with 1x equals 6 divided by 6 is also 1. And because I have an odd number of negatives, that's negative. So my final answer is x equals a negative 1. So that's the solution for this equation. Now the next thing I have to show you is how to evaluate this equation. So let me grab this stuff right here and get it out of the way. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to evaluate. And what that means, to take a value of x, put it in where we have x's, and see if the left hand and the right hand sides are equal. And if they are equal, it means we have got the correct solution for our equation. So now remember how you show that you're replacing a variable with a number is you put it in parentheses. See where the x was there? I'm putting a negative 1 in there. So now I have 3. I've got 2. There's another negative 1 for the x, minus 1 equals 4. There's another x. I replace it with a negative 1. So what we've kind of gone over in class, it's always easier to start with the ugliest stuff first. So we want to do inside our parentheses. So if I have 2 times a negative 1, that's a negative 2. Subtract 1, so that's a negative 3 on the inside. So that will be a negative 3 times a negative 3. And then I have 4 times a negative 1's a negative 4. Okay, so now I've got a negative 4, and then a negative 3 times a negative 3 is a positive 9. Now a negative 4 plus 9 is 5. So this entire left-hand side, when I evaluated it, x is a negative 1, what I get is 5. So now I'm going to do the same thing over here and see what happens. So if I look at this, 4 times a negative 1 is a negative 4. 4 plus 9 is 5. So you can see right here that both sides, the left-hand side and the right-hand side, are the same point on the number line. This 5 over here was gotten a different way than this 5 here. But they're both the same value on the number line, so that means I have found the right solution. So all the problems on the worksheet is basically done this way. Some of them are a little bit harder than others, but this is the pattern by which you're going to use to do them all. So you want to go through and find the solution, take that solution, substitute it in for all the x values, evaluate the left-hand side all the way down, evaluate the right-hand side all the way down, and if you've got the correct solution, and there's only one for the problems that we are doing, you should end up with the same number. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it works, and remember, happy homework. If you do your homework, you're going to do well in class. Thank you. Have a good day.